Hi, this is Wednesday, November 2nd, a class full of issues. Home children, we miss you regardless of what the kids trying to lose points may be yelling about, because they have turned on other poor innocent children without you guys to attack. So you need to come back so that they know who to send their angry vitriol towards. Anyway, we're going to be doing things slightly out of order today, but you'll be fine because you're not here, so it doesn't matter anyway. Just get better. Let's see. Today's tie is the Beatles song. They took a song and they turned it into a tie. I've got like a whole bunch of them. This one is Strawberry Fields Forever. And I figured instead of you guys coming up and awkwardly staring at me, I would just put it up there. I mean, you can still awkwardly stare at me because some of you guys do it every day, but I thought it might help. For you guys, if you want to write in your book, your checkpoint is end of chapter 8. That's what we're going to do coming up on Friday. We're going to get through, hopefully today, most of chapter 6, which will leave you 7 and 8, but that's okay because there's a big thing that happens, and I have very little worry about you being able to read. And then tomorrow we do have a library visit for part of the class period. We also have a quiz for part of the class period, but it's one that like every 7th grader takes, so it's not one that I wrote. It's one of those we have to just make sure that you're smart-ish kids.
Oh, those ones we always get wrong, even though we're supposed to get them right.
Yeah, I know. I feel the same way. And then as far as the Charge Your Challenge goes, we are currently at 12. We do have 3 spots open for tomorrow if you are wanting to do it. See, as far as this class goes, we have Caleb's in, and Dragoo, and whenever. If the rest of you are open and available to do it tomorrow and you want to, come talk to me and you can reserve your spot. If not, we will swing with the 13 that we have and still hope that we have a chance of winning. But it is tomorrow and it goes until 5:45. So just making sure Caleb, still good. Whenever, still good. You're still good for tomorrow?
I might be able to.
Dragoo, still good? Yay! Alright. Want to make sure and to here. Let's see. Open up iPad. I am trying something new with the homework.
Oh, new things scare me.
I'm going to try and help you do better on the quiz by giving you homework that should, in theory, help prepare you.
Homework doesn't help anybody.
Well, if it helps, you have a chance. You have a chance of not doing the homework. I know. I'm doing all kinds of interesting things on this one, so find the one that says The Outsider's Homework, and you'll go clicky clicky. And
Interesting things scare me.
I know. Well, yelling out loud should scare you, but apparently it hasn't started yet.
Wait.
So, here's how the homework is going to... We'll get you in a moment.
Wait.
Oh.
Can I just...
Oh,
It
that's
says
easy.
that we have homework, but homework isn't due.
Correct.
That doesn't make any sense.
Did you not click on it and then read it? You wanted me to make fun of you in front of everyone, and then we get a chance to... Glad we got a chance to bond. So what should that tell you, Shawls? Is the homework due this week?
No.
There you go, Shawls. I know, Mr. Brovicast yell at me because Cora's gone. It's okay, I can yell at all of you. So what we're going to do for this one is you have 12 questions. You only have to answer 10 of the questions. You can skip 2 of them. Because way back during dinosaur times when I was a child, I wanted to be able to skip questions. And so I can make your dreams come true. So you can skip 2 of them. And then from there, to make it even better, your quiz on Friday is 14 questions as opposed to 12. So I made it bigger and heavier than the previous quiz.
I keep reading questions. Spoiler.
The idea is, if you, by the way, if you start reading the questions, and we've not gotten there yet, it's going to give some things away. So I just might tell you that. So be careful.
Burning church.
So,
Everybody dies.
Excuse me. Johnny dies.
Johnny Boy gets hit by a car.
so
Bobby
many
gets hit by a car.
kids just getting rid of. So anyway, here's what I'm trying to do with the questions. These questions cover the part that we have to read together. 9 of these questions are on the quiz. It's a 14-question quiz. I went through and pulled out 9 of the questions and put them in the homework for you. The idea being is that hopefully this helps you get prepared for the quiz better. To encourage you to get prepared for the quiz, if you get this turned in by Friday morning, I give you 3 extra B points for getting it done early. In theory, that's going to help you do better on it. So as you go through it, if you get a 26 out of 28 on the quiz, instead of answering the questions, you can just take a screenshot and submit that for your homework. So I won't even make you answer the questions if you do really well on the quiz. For those of you who feel you're naturally smart and don't have to do the homework, prove it. Instead, if you can take the quiz and get a 26, then you can just screenshot it and submit that also. But here's the tricky part. The best way to do really well on the quiz is by doing the homework. So if you do the homework, you're going to do really well. But if you do really well, you don't have to do the homework. Mr. Brovicast, that confuses me. If that confuses you, then in that case, just answer the questions. And so if you get to the point you're like, you don't understand. And if you end up realizing you look at the questions, yes, there's going to be big things that are coming up. And those questions are going to cover the big things coming up. So if you go look at the questions, hashtag spoilers, because there's going to be spoilers in there about Johnny getting hit by a car.
Well, you put a giant red box around the questions. How's that not supposed to look there?
It's what I do to confuse you. So hopefully the whole giving you questions ahead of time makes things a little bit easier on you.
Not the questions.
Questions from there, aside from when is it due, because then you're going to look in there and find that out and make sure I don't have to make fun of you too much. Smithy? Okay, just waving at me. Hi, Smithy. All right, then I'm going to pause so we can go a chance back over there. If you want to start working on the first couple questions, you can. That is completely up to you. But realize if you end up reading some of the questions, it may spoil some of what's coming up in the book. Here's where you get to make those big kid choices. So I wish you luck with your big kid choices. Sometimes big kids are scary. We're going to come back to home, children. I'm going to go read about the creepy thing. And you've been missing all kinds of creepy things, by the way, but way too much to cover now. Just trust me, creepy. Pretty fun thing. Home children, we're sort of spazzing out because we read our book. And it's just so many. When you come back alive, we'll catch you up. There is so much drama and tea.
Yeah.
It's like a little kids' party in Britain right now. There's tea everywhere.
I love he got spilled.
And then, home kids, I also found a different cover of the book to show you up there. To you guys, before we get into it, so my regular class, we're reading a book called Shadow Club, and then we came across two references as I was reading it today that connect to your guys' class. So I'm going to read you the two references real quick because I think you would get a kick out of them. So one, let's see, where's the first one? Is it right here? No. So, is it? Hang on, where is it? It's over here, and dang it, where's the first reference? It's not the Soch, it is the... there it is. So this one is not connected to The Outsiders, but a previous thing we read. There's a kid who's creeping around, and then he ends up like going and looking in these people's windows while he's creeping around. And here's what he ends up saying. Tyson was not there, and these people, who must have been Tyson's aunt and uncle or whatever, didn't move from the couch at all. They're dead, said a voice in my brain that sounded a bit like Ralphie Sherman. They're dead, and they've been stuffed. Oh! So when I read that, my regular kids were like, oh, that's weird. Why are they stuffed? And I'm like, oh, snap! But for you guys, you would recognize that reference.
Oh,
it kind of
I
made me
forgot the
laugh.
story name, but I'm already, I know what it's about. The landlady. The ladybug.
So that was the first one I got to, and then we kept reading, and then there's another scene where they're having a meeting and talking. I'll see you pick up on this one.
Bitter almond tea.
You know, said Darren, I never thought this thing would work. I mean, I never thought we'd all actually, like each other. I'll say, said Abby. Look at this group. We've got a jock, a brain, a nerd, a soch, a brat, a lawyer, and the gopher. Who'd have thought we'd all get along?
The gopher.
So, what was the reference there? A soch, because there's this one popular kid that's in the group.
What about the gopher, though? That sounded so
Oh,
good.
the gopher.
It's someone's nickname. They call him the gopher. So that's why he got that.
Yeah, like a whole squad.
So I thought the fact that there was those two references right there.
Oh yeah, we call them
Kinda made
logos in the side of your book. We
Oh,
call
what?
them logos. Why do you have so much things outside of your book for a while?
They're little marks I put in there for like bookmarks and stuff like that. Your guys' book has some.
Socials.
Alright, let's see. So you guys, we got to, we had just gotten to Dally showing up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go eat some.
He
So
just
we got
tossed
to
them some
the
cigarettes.
church, and they're trapped in the church.
Wait a minute.
The
No!
book they're reading.
No!
It's gonna burn down.
With the cigarettes! No!
Why the questions?
Which character uses the hydrogen peroxide? Pony Boy. What's he use it for?
His hair.
There you go. Why does Johnny not use it?
Because he's Hispanic.
You know,
I think I should do
this
some
part.
bleach.
Oh yeah, you should wait. Bleach like
Is the Brovie at the church on fire?
And just like
Sunrise. He
Nothing gold
repeats the
can stay.
poem, which we're going to get
Like
to
this.
more of here shortly.
Nothing gold can
What
stay.
is the point of the poem?
Nothing gold can stay.
Which means?
You can't
Everything dies!
So because everything dies, what's the happy part?
Enjoy it while it lasts.
Enjoy it while it lasts because everything dies. And then Dally shows up in his
Yeah, it's
Alright.
cheaper.
Gussie.
So, do you have this PowerPoint made through like the entire year? Do you like make it the night before?
It's broken into little pieces, but yeah. Like what
So
I'll
it's
do
like
is
set for the entire year.
I have ones that are, because I've been doing it so long, like I'll go in there, then I skim it, then like I add new things in. Because I'll think about things I didn't think of before and new ideas, and so it's like a template, and then I throw new things
Just
in
like
there.
your haunted garage.
Also,
Like my haunted garage. Like life, really.
How do you think the bleached hair?
Only one way to find out.
You don't
Jimmy
know
Jam.
what way to find out.
I'm
It's
gonna
really
make
good.
a prediction.
Like if you bleach like I don't know.
From experiences, I've seen people right before they go somewhere, they smoke a cigarette, and I have a prediction that Pony Boy or someone is gonna smoke it,
And then it's
then
gonna light the
not
church
put it
on
out,
fire.
they're gonna drop it, and as they drive away, the church is gonna go kaboom.
We'll find out. And
Why
Smitty.
they run back into the fire?
They're all excited.
A cigarette and be like,
Shh, down, children.
When the bus comes in.
This is kind of off topic, but I can't believe I'm agreeing with Jada on Killer's Kiss. I think just everyone should die.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hoping someone does at some point. Alright, so you guys left off on page 80, and we're getting ready to finish chapter 5 and get to the good stuff. Well, the gooder stuff. We're at Johnny looks startled at the bottom. So ain't you guys been eating anything? Johnny looks startled. Oh, home children. Page 80. Johnny looks startled. Yeah, whatever gave you the idea we ain't? Dally shook his head. Because you're both pale and you've lost weight. After this, you got to get out in the sun more. You look like you've been through the mill. I started to say, look who's talking, but decided to be safer not to. Dally needed a shave. There's a stubble of colorless beard covered his jaw. He looked like he was the one who'd been sleeping in his clothes for a week instead of us. I knew he hadn't seen a barber in months, but it was safer not to get mouthy with Dally Winston. Hey, Pony Boy! He fumbled with a piece of paper in his back pocket. I got a letter for you. A letter? Who from? The president, of course. Stupid. It's from Soda. Soda Pop? Said bewildered. How do you know? He came over to Buck's a couple of days ago for something, and he found that sweatshirt. I told him I didn't know where you were, but he didn't believe me. He gave me this letter and half his paycheck to give you. Kid, you ought to see Derry. He's taking this mighty hard. I wasn't listening. I leaned back against the side of the church and read. Pony Boy, well, I guess you got into some trouble, huh? Derry and me nearly went nuts when you ran out like that. Derry's awful sorry he hit you. You know he didn't mean it. And then you and Johnny turned up missing, and what with that dead kid in the park and Dally getting hauled into the station, well, it scared us something awful. The police came by to question us, and we told them as much as we could. I can't believe little old Johnny could kill somebody. I know Dally knows where you are, but you know him. He keeps his trap shut and won't tell me nothing. Derry hasn't got the slightest notion where you're at, and it's nearly killing him. I wish you'd come back and turn yourselves in, but I guess you can't, since Johnny might get hurt. You sure are famous. You got a paragraph in the newspaper even. Take care and say hi to Johnny for us. Soda Pop Curtis.
Yeah.
Well, you could improve his spelling, I thought, after reading it through 3 or 4 times. How come you got hauled in? Shoot, kid. Them boys at the station know me by now. I get hauled in for everything that happens on our turf. While I was there, I kind of let it slip that y'all were heading for Texas, so that's where they're looking. He took a drag on his cigarette and cussed it good-naturedly for not being a cool. Johnny listened to admiration. You sure can cuss good, Dally. Sorry. It's one of my favorite lines in the book. You sure can cuss good, Dally. Sure can, Dally agreed wholeheartedly, proud of his vocabulary. But don't you kids get to picking up my bad habits. He gave me a hard rub on the head. Kid, I swear it don't look like you with your hair all cut off. It used to look tough. You and Soda have the coolest looking hair in town. I know. I look lousy. Rub it in. Y'all want something to eat or not? Johnny and I leaped up. You better believe it.
Let's go to the Waffle House.
Sure will be good to get into a car again. Well, I'll give you a ride for your money. Dally always did like to drive fast, as if he didn't care whether he got where he was going or not. And we came down the red dirt road off J Mountain doing 85. Now I like fast driving, and Johnny was crazy about drag races, but we both got a little green around the gills when Dally took a corner on 2 wheels with the brakes screaming. Maybe it was because we hadn't been in a car for so long. We stopped at a Dairy Queen, and the first thing I got was a Pepsi. Johnny and I gorged on barbecue sandwiches and banana splits. Glory, Dallas said, amazed, watching us gulp the stuff down. You don't need to make like every mouthful's your last. I got plenty of money. Take it easy. I don't want you getting sick on me. And I thought I was hungry. Johnny merely ate faster. I didn't slow down until I got a headache. Oh, I didn't tell y'all something, Dallas said, finishing his 3rd hamburger. The Socias and us are having all-out warfare all over the city. That kid you killed had plenty of friends, and all over town it's Soch against Grease. We can't walk alone at all. I started carrying a heater. Dally, I said, frightened. You kill people with heaters. A heater is not a thing you keep in your garage when you get cold. Do you know what a heater is?
No.
That's
That's a heater.
Where's my... hang on. It's a gun. I suppose I have a picture of a gun up there, but it disappeared. Wait, I have one. I figured after the knife thing, it was gonna... So yeah, it's a heater just means a gun, and I had a picture on there. Pay no attention to any other picture you may or may not have seen.
Is it like the church burning on fire?
Not that one. Definitely not that one.
No, that's just they repainted the church.
Yeah.
So it's on fire. Yeah.
You kill people with heaters. You kill them with switchblades too, don't you, kid? Dallas said.
Shot fire.
Oh, snap. Shots fired. Get it? Heater.
You got
Yeah. Johnny gulped. Don't worry, Dally went on. It ain't loaded. I ain't aiming to get picked up for murder, but it sure does help a bluff. Tim Shepard's gang and our outfit are having it out with the Socias tomorrow night at the vacant lot. We got hold of the president of one of their social clubs and had a war council.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Dally sighed. I knew he was remembering New York, just like the good old days. If they win, things go on as usual. If we do, they stay out of our territory, but good. Two-Bit got jumped a few days ago. Dairy came along in time, but he wasn't having too much trouble. Two-Bit's a good fighter. Oh, I didn't tell you, we got us a spy. A spy? Johnny looked up from his banana split. Who? That good-looking broad I tried to pick up that night you killed the Soch, the redhead. Cherry, what's her name? So we find out that Cherry is now working with the
I
Greasers
forgot her last name
against the
already.
Soches. Cherry Valance.
There we go.
I thought it was true.
Chapter 6. Johnny gagged, and I almost dropped my hot fudge sundae. Cherry? The Soch? Yeah. She came over to the vacant lot the night Two-Bit was jumped. Shepard and some of his outfit and us were hanging around there, and she drives up in her little old Stingray. That took a lot of nerve. Some of us was for jumping her then and there, her being the dead kid's girl and all, but Two-Bit stopped us. Man, next time I want a broad, I'll pick up my own kind. Yeah, Johnny said slowly, and I wondered if, like me, he was remembering another voice, also tough, and just deepened into manhood, saying, next time you want a broad, pick up your own kind. It gave me the creeps. Dally was going on. She said she felt the whole mess was her fault, which it is, and that she'd keep up with what was coming off with the Socias in the Rumble, and would testify that the Socias were drunk and looking for a fight, and that you fought back in self-defense. He gave a grim laugh. That little gal sure does hate me. I offered to take her over to the Dingo for a Coke, and she said no thank you, and then told me where I could go in very polite terms. She was afraid of loving you, I thought. So Cherry Valance, the cheerleader, Bob's girl, the Soch, was trying to help us. No, it wasn't Cherry the Soch who was helping us. It was Cherry the Dreamer, who watched sunsets and couldn't stand fights. It was hard to believe a Soch would help us, even a Soch that dug sunsets. Dally didn't know this. He'd forgotten about it already. Man, this place is out of it. What do they do for kicks around here? Play checkers? Dally surveyed the scene without interest. I ain't never been in the country before. You two? Johnny shook his head, but I said, yeah, Dad used to take us all hunting. I've been in the country before. How'd you know about the church? I got a cousin that lives around here somewhere. Tipped me off that it'd make a tough hideout in case of something. Hey, Pony Boy, I heard you was the best shot in the family. Yeah. Derry always got the most ducks, though. Him and Dad, Soda and I goofed around too much and scared most of our game away. I couldn't tell Dally that I hated to shoot things. He'd think I was soft. Hey, that was a good idea. I mean, cutting your hair and bleaching it. They printed your description in the paper, but you sure wouldn't fit 'em now. Johnny had been quietly finishing his 5th barbecue sandwich, but now he announced, we're going back, turning ourselves in. It was Dally's turn to gag. Then he swore a while, and then he turned to Johnny and demanded, what? I said we're going back, turn ourselves in. Johnny was sorry.
How is the Dairy Queen workers not hearing
Turn
this?
ourselves in, Johnny repeated in a quiet voice. And I was surprised, but not shocked. And I thought about turning ourselves in lots of times, but apparently the whole idea was a jolt to Dallas. I got a good chance of being let off easy, Johnny said desperately. I didn't know if it was Dally he was trying to convince or himself. I ain't got no record with the fuzz, and it was self-defense. Pony Boy and Cherry can testify to that, and I don't aim to stay in that church all my life. That was quite a speech for Johnny. His big black eyes grew bigger than ever at the thought of going to the police station. For Johnny had a deathly fear of cops. He went on. We won't tell that you helped us, Dally, and we'll give you back the gun and what's left of the money and say we hitchhiked back, so you won't get into trouble, okay? Dally was chewing the corner of his ID card, which gave his age as 21 so he could buy liquor. You sure you want to go back? Us greasers get it worse than anyone else. Johnny nodded. I'm sure. It ain't fair for Pony Boy to have to stay up in that church with Dairy and Soda worrying about him all the time. I don't guess, he swallowed and tried not to look eager. I don't guess my parents are worried about me or anything. The boys are worried, Dally said in a matter-of-fact voice. Two-Bit was going to go to Texas to hunt for you. My parents, did they ask about me? No, they didn't. Blast it, Johnny, what does it matter? Shoot, my old man don't give a hang whether I'm in jail or dead in a car wreck or drunk in the gutter. It don't bother me none. Johnny didn't say anything, but he stared at the dashboard with hurt bewilderment that I could have bawled. Dally cussed under his breath and nearly tore out the transmission of the T-Bird as we roared out of the Dairy Queen. I felt sorry for Dally. He meant it when he said he didn't care about his parents, but he and the rest of the gang knew Johnny cared and did everything they could to make it up to him. I didn't know what it was about Johnny. Maybe that lost puppy look and those big scared eyes were what made everyone his big brother. But they couldn't, no matter how hard they tried, take the place of his parents. I thought about it for a minute. Dairy and Soda Pop are my brothers, and I loved both of them, even if Dairy did scare me. But not even Soda could take Mom and Dad's place. They were my real brothers, not just sort of adopted ones. It's no wonder Johnny was hurt because his parents didn't want him. Dally could take it. Dally was of the breed that could take anything because he was hard and tough. And when he wasn't, he could turn hard and tough. Johnny was a good fighter and could play it cool, but he was sensitive, and that isn't a good way to be when you're a greaser. Blast it, Johnny! Dally growled as we flew along the red road. Why didn't you think of turning yourself in 5 days ago? It would have saved a lot of trouble. I was scared. I still am. He ran his finger down one of his short black sideburns. I guess we ruined our hair for nothing, Pony Boy. I guess so. I was glad we were going back. I was sick of that church. I didn't care if I was bald.
But
Dally was scowling, and from long and painful experience, I knew better than to talk to him when his eyes were blazing like that. I'd likely as not get clobbered over the head. That happened before, just as it happened to all the gang at one time or another. We rarely fought among ourselves. Derry was the unofficial leader since he kept his head best. Soda and Steve had been best friends since grade school and never fought, and Two-Bit was just too lazy to argue with anyone. And Johnny kept his mouth shut too much to get into arguments, and nobody ever fought with Johnny. I kept my mouth shut too, but Dally was a different matter. If something beefed him, he didn't keep quiet about it, and if you rubbed him the wrong way, look out. Not even Derry wanted to tangle with him. He was dangerous. Johnny just sat there and stared at his feet. He hated for any one of us to be mad at him. He looked awful sad. Dally glanced at him out of the corner of his eye. I looked out the window. "Johnny," Dally said in a pleading high voice, using a tone I'd never heard from him before. "Johnny, I ain't mad at you. I just don't want you to get hurt. You don't know what a few months in jail can do to you." "Ah, blast it, Johnny." He pushed his white blonde hair back out of his eyes. "You get hardened in jail. I don't want that to happen to you like it happened to me." I kept staring out the window at the rapidly passing scenery, but I felt my eyes getting round. Dally never talked like that. Never! Dally didn't give a Yankee dime about anyone but himself. He was cold and hard and mean. He never talked about his past or being in jail that way. If he talked about it at all, it was to brag. And I suddenly thought of Dally in jail at the age of 10. Dally growing up in the streets. "Would you rather have me living in hideouts for the rest of my life? Always on the run?" Johnny asked seriously. If Dally had said yes, Johnny would have gone back to the church without hesitation. He figured Dally knew more than he did, and Dally's word was law. But he never heard Dally's answer, for we had reached the top of Jade Mountain, and Dally suddenly slammed on the brakes and stared. "Oh, glory!" he whispered. The church, it was on fire.
Wow, we totally didn't see this coming. So surprising.
"Let's go see what the deal is," I said, hopping out. "What for? Get back in here before I beat your head in." I knew Dally would have to park the car and catch me before he could carry out that threat, and Johnny was already out and following me, so I figured I was safe. We could hear him cussing us out, but he wasn't mad enough to come after us. There was a crowd at the front of the church, mostly little kids, and I wondered how they'd gotten there so quickly. I tapped the nearest grown-up. "What's going on?" "Well, we don't know for sure," the man said with a good-natured grin. "We were having a school picnic up here, and the first thing we knew, the place is burning up. Thank goodness this is wet season, and the old thing's worthless anyway." And then to the kids, he shouted, "Stand back, children! Firemen will be coming soon." "I bet we started it," I said to Johnny. "We must have dropped a lighted cigarette or something." About that time, a lady came running up. "Jerry, some of the kids are missing." "Nah, they're probably around here somewhere.
Lateral.
You can't tell with all this excitement where they might be." "No, they were been missing for at least half an hour. I thought they were climbing the hill." Then we all froze. Faintly, just faintly, you could hear someone yelling, and it sounded like it was coming from inside the church. The woman went white. "I told them not to play in the church. I told them." She looked like she was going to start screaming, so Jerry shook her. "I'll get him. Don't worry." I started at a dead run for the church, and the man caught my arm. "I'll get him. You kids stay out." Quick pause, by the way. Jerry is my favorite character in the whole book because he's a teacher, and he takes his kids to an old abandoned house for the field trip. And then while they're at the old abandoned house, they lose some kids, and the house catches on fire.
I think the kids were playing with cigarettes.
And then Jerry, instead of getting upset about the missing kids, is like, "Nah, we got the important ones." And he's like, "We're fine, don't worry about it." And then the woman starts screaming, "No, the kids are missing." So he grabbed him and he's like, "Don't worry about the kids!" And then slap. And so here you have Jerry, the best teacher in the world,
Exactly.
who's not freaking out about missing kids, even though there's a giant burning building right in front of him.
Collateral.
So, "You kids stay out." I jerked loose and ran on. All I could think was, "We started it, we started it, we started it." I wasn't about to go through that flaming door, so I slammed a big rock through a window and then pulled myself in. It was a wonder I didn't cut myself to death, now that I think about it. "Hey, Pony Boy!" I looked around startled. I hadn't realized Johnny had been right behind me all the way. I took a deep breath and started coughing. The smoke filled my eyes and they started watering. "Is that guy coming?" Johnny shook his head. "Nah, the window stopped him." And that's where we stopped too. Make sure you have at least finished chapter 6 tomorrow, because I'm going to talk about my favorite scene in chapter 6. I wanted to get farther, but I messed up my schedule this week. It's on me. I apologize.
Why'd you do that?
Wait, so we have to read the
So I will be done reading with you, and I'm going to talk about chapter 6 tomorrow, because there's a scene that happens in the church.
If we don't read it, do we get a head start?
I mean, then you can finish through chapter 8 if you want. Other than that, take off.